It being 6:38 p.m. on May 23rd, 2023, I call this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with the extension of the governor's order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during a public input portion of a hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be posted on the city's web pages. All votes will be done by a roll call to ensure count accuracy. Please note that discussion of all agenda items shall be limited to 15 minutes each to ensure timely progress through tonight's agenda. Maybe we'll make it 10. Okay, so if each commissioner that is present could please announce that you're here with your first and last name, so that way we will determine roll call.
Laura Beekler here.
Peggy Curtis here.
Joyce Zabor is here, so we do have quorum. Okay, item number 2 would be motion to accept the minutes from April 25th.
Yeah, Joyce, before we move on to that point, I do have a thing to bring up here. So due to a clerical error, the request for amended order of conditions at 455 Oak Street, this is the Fuller Craft Museum, will not be heard at tonight's meeting and must therefore be continued to the June 21st, 2023 meeting.
So 455 Oak Street was not on the original agenda, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep. So I think it was it was something that was brought up in the March meeting. And then we just didn't roll it over. It was supposed to be on this meeting and we just kind of missed it. So we're going to extend that with a continuance until next month, and we'll add it to that meeting's agenda.
Okay. Fine.
And this is something that the commission does have to do a motion and a vote for the record.
To continue.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll do that now as opposed to after the minutes. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, just get it out of the way.
So if I could entertain a motion, please, to continue the 455 Oak Street hearing until the next meeting. I would appreciate that.
I'll make a motion to continue the 455 Oak Street till the next meeting, which is June
21st.
What is it, 23rd?
21st.
21st,
Yeah.
June 21st.
You got it.
Summer solstice.
Oh,
Okay, so the motion has been made.
Seconded.
The motion has been made and seconded. So a roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. So the motion is passed. So that will be continued. Then 455 Oak Street will be continued to the next meeting, which is June 21st. Thank you, Kyle.
thank you, Joyce.
Okay.
Thanks.
The next.
Madam Chair, if you'd
Yes.
let the record show
Oh.
that Ms. Clay is now with us.
Hello, Ruby. How are you? We can't hear you. No volume.
We might be that log off, log back on again. Oh, she's putting on headphones. She'll be logging back on shortly.
Yeah. I'll wait for just a minute. While we're in kind of limbo, I was just wondering, Kyle or Elise, had you received, or Rode or Isaiah, had you received any other applicants' requests to be continued to the next meeting? Not until then. Okay,
No.
that's fine. Rob, is she in the participants as opposed to panelists?
I've been there waiting for her.
Okay. And just for clarification purposes, I see that Rode and Kyle are both listed as co-hosts. Does that mean that you can allow screen sharing and that kind of thing for other participants to promote them to panelists?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Okay.
does.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Is there any other business that we can take care of while Ruby is waiting?
I think since we have quorum, we certainly can address the minutes of the last meeting. I don't believe that unless Ruby feels as though she has some statement to make, but we can certainly readdress that when she comes on.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay. So the next item on the agenda, the first item on the agenda actually is the meeting minutes. The only thing that I saw was there was one correction to be made on the minutes. And it was, I think, just see, at page 6 at the very top.
Mhm.
I think it was 82 Ames Street. I believe there was a typographical error in that first sentence that addressed 84 Ames Street as opposed to 82. So with that change, I believe we can entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Commissioners, did you have a chance to check the minutes? If so, I would entertain a motion, please.
I wasn't there, so I don't know if I can make a motion.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the April 25th meeting.
Okay, that motion has been made. I'll second that motion. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Vora's aye.
Am I supposed to be I didn't think I was supposed to, but
I don't know that you would be able to because you weren't there. With that said, I'm not sure what that exactly means as far as quorum goes. But I would think at the very least, if we need to, if it kind of so happens that we should have had an additional person, we can always kind of make a new motion at the next meeting.
I'm writing that
approve.
down now.
Yeah,
That we
and
can
or
address that.
or if Ruby does pop back in, we can just circle back to this, easily later on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I think with that,
I should add that for new items, she can vote, but for items that have been carried over, she cannot.
So
But
minutes are,
she still counts towards quorum, but
Okay.
because you've heard testimony on other cases, and she has not had a chance to review that testimony under
Yeah.
so minutes would not be something that she would be allowed to, that she would be
No.
expected to vote on. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. If Ruby comes back on, we will address it. Otherwise, we'll go back to that in the
Yeah.
June meeting.
I would
Yep,
keep moving
absolutely.
forward.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you. I do notice that, let's see. The next item on the agenda is a commission matter only just for discussion about peer review procedures.
Yeah, that's right, Joyce. So we've prepared just a statement kind of explaining the ongoing relationship between the commission and the beta group. So I'm just going to go ahead and read that statement now. The Conservation Commission has engaged the Beta Group in an on-call contract to provide peer review services to assist the commission in reviewing applications for compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act and its regulations, as well as with the Mass DEP stormwater management standards when applicable. Upon receipt of a new application or application revisions and at the discretion of the conservation agent, the commission will request a scope and fee from Beta Group for review. This scope and fee will be forwarded to the applicant for payment in accordance with the MGL Chapter 44, Section 53G. Please note that Beta will not initiate their review until the planning department receives a company or bank check made out to the city of Brockton. So any delays in fee payment will result in delayed review. Thank you for your cooperation in facilitating the review of applications before the Conservation Commission.
Okay, so my understanding is that is the way that everything was done when Megan Shave was here as agent for the stormwater standards. And now until Kyle is really comfortable in his position and able to feel as though he's, yeah, whatever, that Beta will be doing the same thing for both stormwater and for
Wetlands protection.
wetlands protection as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is not like a permanent thing, but as I get up to
Right.
speed on things, yeah, so
Yeah.
that will transition out of this, but this is kind of where we are right now. Yep.
Right, okay. And so that means that we can open hearings.
Yep.
But without an
Absolutely.
agent report. So it really would be the applicant report. We'll hear from the applicant. We'll have a discussion without an agent report if the fee hasn't been paid yet. And then once the fee is paid, then it gets reviewed by Beta and then we get an agent report. Is that?
More or less, it's essentially what's, or Rob, you can speak to it. I think he has his hand up.
Rob's hand up? Yeah. Rob?
I have something else. I'll let you finish this conversation.
yeah.
So,
Okay. Essentially what's going to happen is that, a hearing will be opened. The applicant will kind of speak to the project and basically we won't really have a performance standards review to share. So we won't really have information to provide regarding performance standards for the Wetlands Protection Act and the stormwater standards. So we can still discuss and everything. We just really don't have a measure of the compliance of the project with these different standards until the peer review has been completed.
Commissioners, you okay with, I mean, not that you're okay, but you understand? Is that okay? Is that understandable to you?
Yep.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Number 3 on the agenda.
I believe Rob may
Yeah.
have a comment.
Oh,
okay.
on
I
this?
just got a message from Ruby. She's having some other issues and she will not be joining us.
Okay, but we do have quorum, so
Yep.
that's not an issue, but we will forward the acceptance of the or acceptance of the meeting minutes to the next meeting then.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob. Okay, so the next matter will be for discussion only, would be utility notifications. The first one is Eversource. They're doing some vegetation management. And I believe Kyle is going to summarize that.
I
think Elise is going to.
Yeah.
on this one.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'll jump in on the I'll end up doing the utility notifications. It's pretty simple. For the first one, Eversource, it's doing vegetation management on right of way 6, which is kind of like an electrical easement. And essentially what they're doing is they're going to be doing work within bordering vegetated wetlands and the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. Now, this work is exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act, provided that best management practices are employed, which they are doing. They will be using timber mats to access the area, which helps to distribute the weight of machinery so as to not compact soil underneath it. And then they'll be restoring the areas that they had to access after the fact. So it is an exempt activity. It's more of just a courtesy notification, and just wanted to fill you guys in on that one. And I think
The
maybe
location?
yeah.
I'm sorry, do you have the location of those? activity?
So that is, it's a right of way, so it's not like a roadway or anything. It's like
Yeah.
it's a big electrical
electrical
easement. It
easements?
is, yeah. So this one is, let's see if I can get an idea of where exactly in Brockton it is. It's in a couple different sections. It's kind of here. I'll share my screen. So this is the area in here. So
Okay,
it's kind of
north
a,
side.
yep, yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know, would you like me to do the next one as well, or do you want to see if there's any questions relating to this matter?
Commissioners, do you have any questions at all? I think it's
Um,
fine, thank you.
Okay, and then the next one was the Eversource gas line replacement. That is a North Layden Street and a couple other adjacent streets. And this one is also an exempt activity under the Wetlands Protection Act. They are just replacing some existing natural gas lines within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and within the riverfront area. And again, would be an exempt activity taking into account best management practices to be employed, like usual erosion and sedimentation controls, etc. So that one
Again,
is
do you
also
have
pretty
the
straightforward.
location? Do you have the location of those? It's pretty,
Yeah, this one
Oh,
is kind of is a much
yes.
longer one. I will share my screen.
I believe I read somewhere it was like a year-long project.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's full extent of, so this is Layden Street in the yellow here on the roadway, and then there's some adjacent streets. So it'll definitely be something I'm sure that's done in pieces, over time, but a pretty straightforward project within the existing roadway.
Okay, do you know who the contractor will be that will be doing that maintenance, or does that?
It might just be like Eversource, like their own people, kind of internal people. I'm sure they have departments, so to speak, for that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the only other question that I had, there was a section on dewatering, and it said if they had to do some dewatering, it would be pumped into a dewatering pit. If they're in the neighborhood along the street side, what do they do for a dewatering pit? Do you know?
There's kind of a variety of different ways you can handle dewatering. Essentially, by pit, what usually is meant is that they'll kind of be an area that's sectioned off, whether it might be like putting some stones around it, like bricks or something, or a compost filter tube, and the dewatering water will be directed to that area specifically. So it's not necessarily like a pit they're going to dig in the ground. It's just
Okay.
an area to direct that water to infiltrate. So it's just groundwater being pumped out so they can do any
So they
replacement
can
work.
do the work.
And then it'll just be infiltrated, in an area where they have access to grass or stone or some area that it could be
So
infiltrated.
it's not resource. Okay.
Correct, yeah.
And commissioners, it looks like they have a pretty extensive plan on what they're going to be doing for practices. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda are violation discussions. The first one for A is the Oak Street extension.
Yeah, I've got a kind of a summary of events that I'm going to read
Thank
off
you.
here. So this is for 30 Oak Street Extension, and I believe Olga Leroy is here as a panelist. So we're going to invite her to comment after I get done with the summary. So here we go. On March 22nd, 2023, a site visit was conducted per the request of the City of Brockton Planning Department following receipt of a call from the owner of 30 Oak Street Extension to review the location of trees on the property and determine the possibility of removal. During this visit, apparent violations of the act and its regulations were also observed. Violations observed include debris and pea stone piles, as well as what appears to be a recently poured concrete pad for the dumpsters within buffer zone to bank of Lovett Brook. This matter was discussed at the April 25th meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission. Because the representative of the Hamilton Company was not present for commentary, the Conservation Commission requested that an additional notice be sent to the owners asking for their attendance at the next Conservation Commission meeting scheduled for tonight, May 23rd, 2023. On April 27th, 2023, another site visit was conducted by the Brockton Conservation Agent to determine if any remediation had begun. Upon speaking with the property manager, Olga, and maintenance, the agent determined that remedial work was, as outlined in the first notice of violation, was set to begin later that day. So I've not been out to the site since then, but Olga is here to discuss work that's been completed.
Okay, thank you. Olga Leroy,
Hi, hello.
hi, how are you?
Should I
Welcome.
should I show my face? I'm like,
Sure, if you'd like to, we'd love to see your face.
I can't see it. Okay, hi. So we are working on the issues that Kyle has spoken on. We're working on that now. But we need an extension because of scheduling with our landscaper, because we didn't know about the situation or anything like that. This was the first time that we have dealt with it, because originally we had rats in that area. So that's why we put those, like we had put stones down or something like that. So that was a violation, which we didn't know about. So that's why we asked for the conservationist to check it, because we wanted to do trees, but then we found out that we couldn't do that either. So we're working to restore it back to the way it was. And we have a landscaper that's already, in motion. He hasn't started because of scheduling, but we just needed a little bit more time.
Okay, thank you. Commission, this is not an enforcement order. I think it was really wonderful that the company came forward to ask about the trees in the first place. And yeah, this is kind of an aside piece, but really appreciative of the fact that you're continuing to follow the Wetlands Protection Act and willing to work with us. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would have asked first if we would have knew about that, but
yeah,
we just found out when when Kyle had came out and then looked at everything and said that.
yeah.
So.
How long an extension do you think you would require?
Just probably to the end of next month. That's it, because they gave us a couple of more weeks. I just got notification today because I kept asking them when can they work on it, because it's our landscapers, and
Sure.
they're in the middle of doing properties and stuff like that. So
Yes.
they said a couple of more weeks.
This is when all the weeds and everything else are coming forward, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So I
mulching.
figured,
Yeah.
so I figured the end of the month would be all set.
Would June 21st be okay? Would you be able to report back to us by the next meeting?
Yes.
Commissioners, do you think that's okay? Just to.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we need a vote or anything. If you can get back to us by June 21st meeting, that would be wonderful.
Okay, I definitely will.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you. So the next violation discussion is 26 Allen Street.
Yeah, and I've got a summary for that one as well. So on April 28th, 2023, a site visit was conducted per the request of the City of Brockton Building Department following inspection for multiple building and health code violations at the site. During the visit, apparent violations of the Massachusetts State Wetlands Protection Act were observed. Violations observed include miscellaneous trash, brush piles, a sofa, television, and a refrigerator within the buffer zone to bank of Salisbury Brook, as well as likely within the 25-foot floodplain and riverfront area. A notice of violation was sent via certified mail, and we did receive a green slip back and asking the owner or representative to attend this meeting tonight. I think that is all.
Do you know if someone is present from that particular, from
Looking
29
at the
Allen Street?
attendees here.
I'm sorry, who's that?
Oh, I'm looking at the attendees list here. I don't see anyone here. If anyone is here to speak to 26 Allen Street, if you could raise your hand, please.
What was the date in April that you went, Kyle?
The 28th.
28th.
Yep.
So it's been less than a month. Mhm.
I don't see anyone raising their hand.
No, I don't either. Kyle, do you feel that an enforcement order should be initiated at this point? As
I'm
a
not
result-
sure. I think that this is a fairly easy,
Easy fix.
yeah, easy fix here. Just you got to clean up and kind of clean up that area. There was no construction done, no pavement added. So I can follow up and just kind of do a site visit and see if any work's been done. And then we can, I guess, always issue another notice of violation asking them to come to next month's meeting.
And do you know who the owner is?
Yeah, I have the name. It's Paul.
Barhoppel.
Let's see. I had it pulled up here. Saropoulos or something similar to that. I don't have it pull up right in front of me, but I can reach out again and see if they can, come to next month's meeting.
It would be great.
and we'll
A
do
letter,
that.
email visit.
Can I make a suggestion? From
course.
his last name, it seemed like he was Greek. Does he speak English? Can
Yes.
we kind of like issue the letter maybe in another language?
Yeah,
just to be
I
on
didn't
the
actually
safe
speak with
side?
the owner. I know that members of the building department did, so I will follow up with them. That's a great point. We'll confirm that there is no language barrier. Thank you, Peggy. And then we'll maybe just postpone this until next month and follow
All
up.
right,
Okay, that's great. And then if there is no action by next month, we can take action at that point with enforcement.
Sure.
That sounds great. Thank you. Speaking of enforcement, the next item on the agenda for commission matters are enforcement orders. The first one would be at Otis Street.
Yeah. So I've got a summary, and then I've got some pictures that I can share as well for this
That would
one.
be great. Thank you.
So on April 19th, 2023, the building department, acting upon complaint from a neighbor, conducted an inspection at 19 Otis Street and observed unauthorized construction activities. The conservation agent was notified by the building department and subsequently completed a site inspection at the above mentioned property. The agent observed that a retaining wall and a pergola were being constructed abutting Salisbury Brook, which also appeared to have crossed the property boundary onto the city-owned parcel. A review of aerial photography suggests that the work may have additionally been completed within the bank of Salisbury Brook and bordering lands subject to flooding. So I issued an enforcement order on April 27th via certified mail, and I did receive a green slip. So let me.
Do you have the date of the green part or green slip?
I don't on hand.
Okay.
But we did receive that. I can get that for you, Joyce.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, let me pull this up here and I will share my screen. Okay. All right, can you all see this?
Oh, yes, this is riverfront property.
Yeah. So you can see here that this like 4x4 beam. This is where the original pergola structure was built. Was right up on this kind of concrete pad. I've got some aerial photography that we took today. So this is as of this morning, and you can see that the concrete structure there in the back has some holes in it.
It says something about, I'm sorry, there's something that says use our new video editor. Does anyone else see that within the screen?
Let me just.
Yeah, thank you, because I'm not, if you could use your cursor to show us where you're.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So
Okay.
up here, this is the, okay, so this blue fence is the property line.
That's the property boundary.
Yeah, I believe so. And so they had originally taken their old fence down, and this structure here was actually on this pad back here that they put down. You can see that there's some concrete that they've broken. This is where the original supports for the structure were. They were right here.
Okay.
As you can see in this photo, they were right on the very end of this pavement. So here's just another shot, and this shows you a really good shot of the property line is basically right here where this fence is. So this whole parcel back here where this concrete is, and then this open ground, I'm not sure if this is a garden or what this is back here, but this is all on the city-owned parcel back here.
Okay, and it's right on the 25-foot, right on the riverbank?
Yeah, so you can see this is the brook here, and you can see where we are right up on, about as close as you can go on the low water level that we've got here. So I've got some other photos too. I guess that's not going to work. The other one are PDFs, so I think that's my issue. I've got some that show kind of aerial satellite images and the property line. I don't know if that's really relevant. You can see it pretty well here with this shot where the property line is really right where this fence is. So again, the structure used to be here. They've moved that back. So that's kind of a summary of where we are here. Any questions before I stop sharing the screen?
I have none. No.
Okay.
Oops, sorry,
Is
Kyle.
Yes.
We have someone in the attendees with their hand up.
I was just going to ask now if we did have an attendee present.
I am going to allow them to talk to make sure that if they're associated with this application.
It's a different name.
Andre, is this a
Hi.
property that you're associated with?
I'm Andre, but he's Resende. He doesn't speak English. So he's
Resende,
using my
that's for
Zoom.
5A.
He's using my Zoom to join the meeting.
Okay, and this is about, what's the address, Kyle?
19 Notice
Notice.
Street.
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
His name is Jusino Resende.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Andre,
So he
does the
doesn't
person
speak
that you're
English. so I'm
representing
gonna-
have?
No, I'm a family member.
Okay. And did he receive the enforcement order? Does he understand everything that's in the enforcement order?
Yeah, he does understand, but he put back the fence where his property line is. So he's just wondering what's the next step? Like, what does he have to do? Does he have to go back and break it, or who does he have to consult with?
Elise or Kyle?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. Essentially, all the work that was done to kind of make that patio area is something that even if a permit had been requested through conservation, it's not something that would have been permitted beyond the fact that it's on the city land. With that said, essentially what needs to happen is that to comply with the enforcement order, everything's going to have to be removed. However, before it's removed, he's going to have to file a notice of intent to kind of permit the removal of these items. So it is something that requires a full. It's a permit. It is a butter notification and legal notification, like a legal ad, as well as having plans put together to document kind of where the resource areas are or were, where the bank of the stream or the brook was, so that we can restore the area to pre-existing conditions, or ideally even better. But that's kind of the basics of it. With that said, it might be, and it's up to the commission as well, but it might be something that we could, maybe with your assistance as well, touch base either via email or something to kind of have it written down, or get some maybe some guidance on the exact steps, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be great. If one of you guys can provide your email, we will email you and see what the next process is, the next step to get it done. And he said he is really sorry about all this. He didn't know what's going to cause him all this trouble.
Yeah. Miss Andre, it's just so close to the river, and a river is considered like a protected area. And so.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Would it be possible, Kyle, would you be able to go visit? Do a site
Yeah, I
visit?
certainly can. So I'm
would be okay.
gonna put the conservation email in the chat that everyone should be able to see here. So if you just want to email me, my name is Kyle. You don't have to address it to me. Just send it to this email, and then maybe we can set something up. I can come out there and we can have a discussion about the next steps and how to file an NOI. So I put my conservation at cobma.us, and it should be in the chat. You should be able to see it there.
Miss Andre, do you see that?
No, I don't see the email yet.
Okay, you have to go into chat in the bottom. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I am in chat, but it says my chat is disabled. I only see Rob May.
Uh-oh.
I see Rob May asking, is this your property? That's all I see in the chat.
Hang on just a second. I have a way of dealing with that.
I think Kyle's is only to hosts and panelists.
It
Maybe
was
that's
only
why
sent to
it's
hosts and panelists.
No,
Oh, yes,
I
it
had,
was. Thank you.
not to participants.
I'm making her a panelist so she can see the chat.
Okay.
My apologies.
Would you be able to be there, Miss Andrade, when Kyle visits?
And Kyle, you're going to have to resubmit that email address.
Yeah, I think I sent it to everyone this time.
Ms. Andre, are you still there?
She's muted.
She's
Yes,
muted.
Yes, I'm here. I see the email. I mean,
Okay.
conversation@cobma.us.
Yeah,
Conservation.
Conservation,
COBMA.
yeah.
COB.
Conservation.
Wonderful.
So a date could be you could set up a date and go.
Yeah, I'm gonna email him with a date that I'm available and he could come by and then we'll go from there.
Yeah,
Great.
that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, I
Perfect.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so
Got
much
it.
for your help.
All
Bye-bye.
right, thank you, bye.
The next enforcement order would be 803 Crescent Street. We need an update.
Yeah, I got a quick update for that. As you may recall, during our last meeting, Mr. Silva phoned in. We were having connection issues. He was breaking up. So it was hard to communicate effectively with him. So we decided to all go out and do kind of a site visit with him. So Elise, Joyce, and I all went out on May 3rd to discuss the issued enforcement order with Mr. Silva and to discuss remediation possibilities. So we had a good conversation with him. He's very amenable to working with us. And then he followed up with me on May 9th and requested guidance on his next steps required to comply with the enforcement order. So I worked with Elise and wrote down kind of a step-by-step kind of instructions of what he needs to do next. So we gave him that guide. And so he's taking this, he's not here tonight. He's taking like this month to kind of get someone hired to do the delineation and come up with a plan to do some remediation work on the kind of the bordering land subject by the brook that's right by his property there. So I'm going to follow up with him before the next meeting, and I'm hoping that he'll have something to present to us in June.
And commissioners, it was a really interesting case because he actually had purchased the property in January. So he actually didn't have the work done, but he's responsible for remediation as a result. So yeah, it was an interesting case. Yeah. Any questions at all or comments? The next enforcement order would be 82 Ames Street. I didn't see an actual copy of the enforcement order. I don't know if it was uploaded later.
So this is actually, this is a part of the problem that Joyce, you and I were talking about with the agenda being kind of chopped off. So this is on the agenda that's posted on the city website, but it didn't make it on the photocopy that's posted to the Google Drive. So it's on the one that's posted on the city website, but so we'll try to be more cognizant of making sure it doesn't get chopped off. But this was on the agenda. So, and this is also kind of an update. I've got some pictures of the site too that I'll show you after the fact here, but this is kind of a long-standing site that we've been dealing with for multiple years. So let's see, I'll just go ahead and read you my summary. On April 28th, 2023, a site visit was conducted following a phone call to the conservation agent concerning ongoing groundwork on the site of 82 Ames Street. This site has been issued multiple enforcement orders over the years for doing basically the same type of work that they've done in the past. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and share screen now. I've got some more written down here, but I'm just going to show you kind of over time what's been done here. So all right, so this picture here, Oops. Let's see. All right. Let's see how do I get this up there. Okay. So this is the picture that I took this year. I was on the roadway here. I wanted to get that in the picture, so I was not on the property there. But here, this kind of grown over area, we'll see a better shot of this in a moment, but there's a little ditch that kind of runs through here, and it goes underneath a culvert underneath the road coming towards us. So you can see that they've done some groundwork over here on the left side, and then also they've got some work that they did over here. This is all one big parcel, but it is bisected by this creek here. So this was from April 25th of this year, 2023. This shot is the same property. Again, here's the ditch that runs through here. And I know you might think this is the same day that I took this photo, but this was actually taken on May 18th of 2022. So very similar work. This is not something that's been grown. They did work basically the same type of thing last spring in 2022. This photo is of the same location, but this was taken on May 21st, 2021. So again, this is the right side, which I didn't have a great shot of before. You can see where they've kind of come in through here and they've basically cleared everything out with some sort of earth moving implementation. I've got two more photos here. This is an aerial shot of the property in question. The property in question is here, 82 Ames Street. It's the creek runs basically kind of right through there. So you can see there are trees and stuff that are kind of up here. This is in 2019. The following shot here is from 2021. And you can see they've done a lot of work here. They've knocked down some trees. And this is kind of the beginning. This is the same year as this photo here. So this is obviously something that's been going on for multiple years, since at least 2021. And it was pretty undisturbed, looks like, here in 2019. So this has kind of been going on for at least 3 years. Anyway, so I'm going to continue on with my statement. So so before I did send out a new enforcement order. It must have been Friday of this. No, I sent it out actually yesterday. The most recent enforcement order was sent out yesterday, but before that, the most recent enforcement order was sent to the property owner in May of 2022. The previous agent, Megan, reached out to the Brockton Law Department requesting assistance in this matter. So we were kind of waiting to hear back from law to see what steps had been taken between then and now before I issued the current order that I sent out yesterday, but not heard anything back from law. But we decided that it was prudent to get the new enforcement order sent out. So I did send that out yesterday. So I guess that's the update. No one's here concerning the most recent enforcement order because I just sent it out. They haven't received it yet. But I did just want to make the commission aware of this kind of ongoing violation here. Does anyone have any questions with the photos before I stop sharing screen?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Peggy.
In the shot of 2019, I saw a retaining wall on each side of the flow of water.
Yeah,
And
it is kind of it's open to the air, but it is kind of constructed
right,
on either
but
side.
it looks very stable. In the latest pictures, it doesn't look like that retaining wall is still there, and
I think
almost looks
I
like
think it
it's
is still
been-
there, but I believe it's just the angle that we're looking at. I didn't pull I do have a current photo from this year where I'm kind of looking down that channel. And I believe it's still intact, but this is just at a different angle. So you can't really see, and it's kind of
See the
overgrown
mesh.
here, but I believe that that wall on both sides is still intact here.
And-
Do you have a copy of the enforcement order there? Because I think generally we're supposed to ratify enforcement orders, aren't we?
Well, we did vote to issue the enforcement order. So since the commission made the vote instead of us or of the agent issuing an enforcement order on their own, you don't
Okay,
have
and
to.
then
Yeah.
ratifying.
But
Okay,
So-
yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, the way that this worked is I
Okay.
did bring this to the meeting in April, but we hadn't had a chance to draft it or anything. I think I went out to the site either the day of the meeting or the day before
Yeah.
the meeting. So we
Okay.
didn't discuss it last month. And you voted for me to send an enforcement order, and I did that, but just yesterday because we were waiting on law.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
So have
question, though,
you
Joyce.
has anyone ever actually spoke to the owner? Or are we just mailing these enforcement orders, or where are they being dropped off to?
I might be able to speak to this as far as this project, if I remember correctly, was one that when the previous enforcement order was issued, I do believe they did come to conservation. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle. I believe they came to conservation, then kind of stopped coming. So we
Yeah,
sent it
I
to the
believe-
owner of record, but they're aware. We have made contact, I guess, in the conservation history of this project.
Yeah, going through everything, I believe they did file an after the fact notice of intent, but after 1 or 2 meetings, they just stopped. Well, they never showed up to have that discussion with the Conservation Commission after they filed. So I think that notice of intent was kind of ended. So it's not active anymore. But that was either 2021 or I think it was in 2021 before the most recent enforcement order.
Okay.
Kyle or Elise, do you know what they actually do with the buildings? I mean, I realize that there's places there that maybe potentially could be for parking, but what are the buildings used for?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Rob may be able to speak to that. I don't know.
I have no idea.
No? Okay,
Okay.
I'm just curious. Okay,
We
so
can
right
maybe
now it's,
inquire.
okay, it's just pretty much cleared land. That's just, okay.
Yeah.
Because it just keeps getting cleared each year for, okay.
Yeah, unsure when. We have a raised hand. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and
Thank you.
I'm not
And
sure if this is
Heather
this project or
Turco?
not.
Heather Turco?
Sure, I'm gonna promote her to panelist and see if. No, maybe not.
It looks like she'd shared something in the chat, just
Okay.
regarding maybe since it's owned by a realty company, you can issue a warning of revoking their real estate license. So, I think she's just sharing potential options of
Okay.
exploration, depending on what the property entails, I guess you could say. So just other avenues we could
Oh,
go
so
through.
that particular piece of property is owned by a realty company.
Well, yeah, I think that's what she's saying. Yeah. So that I think is kind of just a thought for us to consider. Yeah, she says yes. Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, thank you.
Kyle, who did you send the enforcement order to? Just to the address?
All right, I
You
was
did?
muted. Sorry. So no, I looked up this piece of property is owned by a company. So I did a search on the Massachusetts Secretary of State website where you can determine who actually the person who's running the company, and it's a family of people that all have the same last name. So I sent my most recent enforcement order to the same individual that Megan had corresponded with previously.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. And with the invitation, I hope for attendance.
Yes. So in my enforcement order, I requested that they attend the June meeting. So we'll see.
I have another question. When they did come to the Conservation Commission meetings, did they appear to comply or say that they were going to make corrections to the property or follow?
Yeah, I'll have to
the
go back and
enforcement?
look at the minutes, but it's my understanding, based on reviewing just Megan's summary of events, that they never actually showed up to any of our Conservation Commission meetings. It was just that they issued, they were issued an enforcement order, and then they followed up and submitted a notice of intent. But then after that, they just never communicated with the commission again after they submitted it. And the notice of intent was put together by an engineering firm professionally. And they submitted that. And then after that fact, after that was submitted, then I don't think, again, we'll have to go back and check the minutes, but I don't think they ever showed up to any meetings to have a discussion with the commission.
I feel satisfied that we have done what we have needed to do as a commission, and that at this point, it would need to go to the law department for review.
Yeah, and I think that's where the commission was in May of 2022. And so this
Right.
was, as far as I know, referred to the law department. I did find a document that Megan had drafted that was addressed to the city solicitor, referring this exact issue to the law department. But again, in the year since then, this is almost exactly a year ago, I don't know what action the law department has taken concerning this issue on enforcement on this property. So that's why we didn't issue the enforcement order after we discussed this in April of this year. We didn't issue the enforcement order right away. I was kind of waiting to see if we could figure out what action law has taken concerning this property, and we weren't able to determine what action, if any, the law has taken. So that's why we issued the enforcement order just yesterday.
It seems like a good move, and then we'll see what they have to say at the next meeting. And in the meantime, perhaps we can have some discussion with legal to see why there's such an issue with enforcement.
Sure. Yep.
That sounds good. Laura, Peggy, any questions or comments or anything?
No, I was just looking in the drive and looking at the communication because it was with Pam and Megan, and it was 2021. I do remember the address. So that's why I looked up in the drive.
You have a much better
I
memory.
vaguely remember the case, but I just remember, like you indicated, it seems like they just dropped off. Like, I don't know. It's like we didn't have any persistence after a certain point. And I know there was a pandemic and everything, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we will continue on and we'll see what happens next month and take it from there. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Let's see, item 6 on the agenda is another commission matter, which is an extension request for 132 Campanelli Industrial Drive.
Yep, and I've got a short summary here, and I think there
Thank you.
may be some people in the chat concerning this project here too. So, so here's the summary. Elise and Kyle met with representatives from Kelly Engineering on May 16th, 2023. They are requesting an extension of condition E1 of the order of conditions relating to the completion of buffer zone restoration within 1 year of the issuance of the order, which was originally issued on September 7th of 2021. So obviously a year from 2021 is not now. So last year, the Kelly Engineering or the property owner issued a similar request on October 5th of 2022, and the commission voted to issue an extension for that one condition that we're talking about to June 7th of 2023. So we're coming up on that June 7th deadline. So it's about to expire the previous extension that the commission granted them. So to this point, no work as permitted under the order of conditions has commenced on the site due to changes in ownership and occupancy problems, or just no occupancy in these commercial lots. So due to the delay in starting the interior renovation of the work of the on-site warehouse, they were not able to commence the site work earlier this spring. They have requested an additional time extension for the completion of the buffer zone work until June 7th of 2024, and they anticipate starting the buffer zone work around the 1st of next month, June 1st, 2023.
Do you have you don't happen to have the map there, do you?
Not handy, but it's on the drive. I'm sure we can dig it up.
Did I hear you correctly when you said that there's new owners of this
Yeah.
property?
Yeah, I believe there was a change in ownership somewhere along the line here. Yes.
And they did notify conservation. They did send a letter. I found it in the drive. So they've been kind of communicating with us regarding this. And they have not started any of the work so far. So it's not as though they've kind of started doing the work and then ignored the restoration. From what I can tell, from what they indicated, there has been no work started. So they were just looking to extend that one condition within the order.
Do you think it's reasonable to request a whole year to complete something that was, issued a year or two ago, or
Yeah.
actually 2 years ago?
We had, we did discuss this, and it was actually kind of myself who had advised that at this point, it's better to ask for additional time instead of having to come back to the commission. So, you know, at that point, if a year has gone by and nothing's happened, then I think that that might be a different story. But it was myself who had actually kind of advised that, you know, they ask for this one last extension on this condition. To make sure that they don't have to come back regarding this, and make sure that they have additional sufficient time.
If we approve this year extension, do we have some stipulations that we will be needing progress reports periodically, monthly, quarterly?
Yeah, no, I
things like
know
that?
exactly what you mean. Essentially, as a part of the restoration, we basically will have to, before they can do other work, kind of give them a sign off of, yep, all right, you've started the restoration, they've shown us, they provided that information, now you can do this other work. So there is, I guess, like a fail safe in place to make sure that that work is done and done correctly before they get to continue with the rest of the permit.
And the restoration itself, has that already been approved, the type and scope
Yes.
of the restoration? Okay.
Yep.
It's simply an extension to next year at this time, right? June of 24.
Correct.
I meant more specific to what they're actually doing. That's already been approved, like if they have to put in vegetation or reseed or
Yes.
put up things in that nature.
Yeah, they have like as a part of what was approved during this whole process for the other work that they're doing, you know, to expand the warehouse, or, you know, other things that was approved under that order of conditions, this was a part of it. So the restoration plan kind of and protocol is included within those original documents that were approved under the order.
It does look from the letter that they'll be starting early June and Kyle will be observing that as well, as far as the buffer zone restoration.
Correct. Yeah, they're planning on starting it this year. They just wanted to give plenty of room to make sure, especially as you get into the summer, it's hot, etc., to make sure that they have things in the works and things are looking okay before they come to us for pre-construction meetings.
So Campanelli Industrial.
And so this would be something that the commission would want to make a motion and do a vote on for the extension. And it's also subject to, if the commission feels comfortable with a different amount of time, that's up to the commission to consider as well.
I think a year is a long time, but looking at the scope of work, it might need a year to restore and establish all the things that we've required of them. So I don't have a problem with giving or granting a year extension. As long as progress is being made, I don't have a problem with that.
Laura?
Yeah, the only thing I might suggest is that we sometimes we've done this as like a mid-year check-in point. I know Kyle will be, you know, staying in touch with it too. I don't know if it's something that we really need, if we feel that they were going to really do it this time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of, sometimes we err on the side of caution historically with this commission, but I don't know. It's I think a mid-year, not making them do a quarterly update, but maybe a mid-year check-in just to let us kind of know where they're at.
Yeah, if it's starting in June, perhaps maybe even November, to see if everything's going according to plan. Does that seem reasonable?
I think that's good.
Okay, then I entertain a motion to grant a 1-year extension to June 7th, 2024, with the stipulation that there will be an evaluation done in November of 2023. I entertain that motion.
Do you need me to make that motion or second it?
Yes, please. I'm just entertaining.
I make a motion to grant the year-long extension for 132 Campanelli Industrial Drive to June 7th, 2024, with the stipulation that there will be an evaluation in November of 2023.
Second,
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Motion's made and, okay, motion passes. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just an extension request, so there was no need to hear from the applicant. Okay, now we actually get to a notice of intent. Okay, so we have a notice of intent for Pleasant Street, the questionable part of Pleasant Street. Somewhere on Pleasant Street, there's a two-family dwelling. Let's see. Representative is, oh, first of all, do we have a confirmation of a DEP file number and a butter notification? To the agents, do you have those available?
I will defer to Isaiah and Road regarding a butter notification and legal ad, or I guess Kyle, Isaiah, and Road.
And the file number?
And
Is it
I
the
am-
file number?
Yes, believe so.
Yeah, I believe we have the butter notification. Everything's all set, I think, on this property.
Legal notice was set as well.
Okay, thank you.
And let's see, we do have a DEP file number, and there are no technical comments from Mass DEP on this one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So next would be the representative presentation, I believe is JK Holmgren. We have someone from JK Holmgren. Mr. Ferry has his hand up. Mr. May, can you promote Mr. Ferry?
Sorry, I'm muted.
Okay,
There we go. He should be joining any second now. There he is.
disappeared. Oh, there you are. Hi, Mr. Ferry. How are you? Haven't seen you in quite some time.
It has been a while, Madam Chair. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commission members, Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, representing Cedar Point LLC and Michael Heichel for a piece of property on Pleasant Street, just down the road from Fields Ave. Fields Ave is just newly constructed back a few months ago. This is a piece of property right next to Fields Ave. It's kind of a large piece of property. It's zoned commercial, but really in a residential neighborhood. We came before the commission back 2 years ago to get an agreement on the wetlands line. We filed an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. That was approved back in June of 2021. So that is the wetlands line that's shown on the plan. And if you allow me to share the screen,
Yes, please.
I'll attempt to do it.
Mhm.
All right, great. All right, this is the Salisbury River, runs between Prospect and Pleasant Street. So that is our western property line is the thread of the Salisbury River. Again, the resource area was delineated, located, and ultimately approved by you folks back 2 years ago in June of 2021. Since then, Mr. Heichel divided the property, built a new house on what is called Lot B on Fields Ave, the middle house on Fields Ave. And once he got that construction done, we decided to file for permission to build a two-family on the lot that we have before you. It's zoned commercial, so we had to go to the Board of Appeals. That obviously took some time. We received a variance from the Board of Appeals, I believe in October or November of this past winter, for permission to build the property as shown before you. So that allowed us to file this notice of intent. So it's a two-family home. We've kind of tucked it as far away from Salisbury River and the resource area as possible, up against the side, the right side and the front yard setback. And just because it's Pleasant Street and obviously a busy street, we didn't want, and the ZBA didn't want to have two separate driveways that would have to back out onto Pleasant Street. And coming up with a unsafe condition there. So to get around that, we're kind of building essentially a parking lot. It's small. It's enough for 7 cars, but we're adding a parking area to the side as opposed to 2 larger driveways that would have to bump out into Pleasant Street. So that's what we have before you. The house is about half of the house is within the 100-foot buffer zone, about half of it, and most of the grading is outside the buffer zone. And certainly, as you can see, the parking area falls within your jurisdiction and within the buffer zone. We have the limit of work shown outside of the 25-foot buffer zone, and just giving us enough room to do the construction that we need and to have a little room to grade off the property. If you have any questions, Madam Chair, Commission members, I'd be happy to answer them.
So that's a 2-family, is it 2-story?
It's actually, it's kind of as opposed to a side-by-side duplex. If you drive around and look at a lot of the new houses that are being built on these smaller lots, not that this is a small lot, but on the smaller lots in Brockton, the 2 families, instead of side-by-side, they're up and down 2 families. Kind of your traditional 2-family home in an old city neighborhood. So it's a first floor unit, and then the second floor unit comes with a loft. So the second floor unit is actually the more desirable of the 2 units on these. But there's a whole bunch of them around the city. Everybody, it's what everybody's been building probably the last 5 years or so for a multi.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions at all yet? I know
I do.
that,
I have a question, I'm
oh,
sorry.
right ahead, Peggy.
I was slow on the unmute button there. The parking lot is really right up on that buffer zone. Are there precautions put in place for runoff? Sometimes cars leak, oil or antifreeze, things like that. What kind of precautions have you put in place so that it doesn't run off into the?
We do have a leaching catch basin, so a catch basin proposed right here in this corner. The parking lot would be graded to drain towards this leaching catch basin to ensure that none of the flow from the parking lot goes towards the Salisbury River. So it'll all go into that catch basin, and the catch basin has to be maintained just as part of routine maintenance. The catch basins are supposed to be maintained 4 times a year under stormwater management guidelines. So as part of that maintenance, that would ensure that the catch basin continues to work properly.
And is that the area designated for snow removal also, where the catch basin is?
Well, it would be beyond the catch basin. I think realistically, a snowplow would just push the snow straight back. Certainly away from the river, but push it straight back, more behind the house.
Is there a wall surrounding the parking lot area?
Nope. That side of the lot is relatively flat. There was really no reason we didn't need to bring in a whole bunch of fill into propose a retaining wall. There was no reason to do that much construction or earth disturbance.
I was wondering about that. I'm not sure about the topography here. Do you have actual topography? I see 131.
Yep, there's
I just don't see the topography values.
Nope, I will show you. I just get, to be honest with you, nervous when I start hitting buttons on these things. All right, so there's the 131 is right up against this flood zone. The 130, I'm sorry, the 130 is right there, and then a 131 is over in here, and the 132 is further over to the Fields Ave intersection. So it is for a lot that's big, for a lot that's 200 feet across. There's only about a foot difference in grade change. So we'll be picking up the grade at this side of the parking lot. We'll be picking it up so everything drains back and into the catch basin.
I have one
what
question.
I'll go ahead, Laura.
Oh, yeah, just a question. So I know it's a 2-family house, and with 7, you said 7 was desirable, 7 spaces.
Yeah.
How was that determined? Because I didn't think, I mean, that's quite a bit of parking space
Yeah,
for an average
yep.
city.
Nope, understood. It's, again, dealing with the Board of Appeals. The Board of Appeals typically looks at bedrooms now, not units. So in this case, there's actually 7 bedrooms. The first floor has 3 bedrooms, second floor has 4 bedrooms. You know, the assumption is, the 2 adults have cars, and then essentially the 2 kids have cars. So, each bedroom, they're figuring worst case, each bedroom would have a car.
Okay,
So best case, they'll have a couple of extra for visitors. I mean, as far as the Board of Appeals and even the planning department, the one thing they don't want is people parking on the streets. So,
right.
they usually ask us, and we usually try to give them either an extra long driveway or something to this effect, just so,
Okay,
Christmas morning, things like that, there's enough parking for everybody.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr.
I
Perry,
have
just a
another
quick,
question.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Peggy.
You said that this property is business zoned, is that correct?
It's commercial zone.
A commercial. Does
Yes.
that mean that business may go into one of these properties or?
Nope, we received a variance to build a 2-family home. If a business wanted to go in, it would then be a mixed use, and it would invalidate the variance we received. So there would be no, we certainly don't intend to, but even a future owner wouldn't be able to run a business out of the home. It would void the variance that we received.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I have just a very quick question. The lot B, I realize it's outside of the lot that you're talking about, but how many units are in lot B?
That was a more of a conventional side-by-side duplex. It's a 2-family home.
Okay, so together Cedar Point will have 4, those are 4 units?
4 units total.
Together.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Now, my understanding is that if this has not been reviewed yet by our agents because of the, what is it called? I'm not even sure what it's called. Elise, can you help me here? That there's you have
The
an agent report.
stormwater standards. Is that what you're referencing? The
I
Massachusetts?
thought it was both stormwater and,
Yeah,
based-
so
Based on
Yeah,
the
I'll let you
peer
go
review
ahead, Steve.
procedure that we outlined at the beginning of the meeting, yes, that's
Right.
correct, Joyce.
this project itself as a single family home is not single family, but as a smaller home is not subject to the stormwater standards. So we would we'd look at it per the Brockton stormwater ordinance just to make sure that that's okay. And then just, kind of do an overview of management of stormwater just as it pertains to the Wetlands Protection Act. But the key thing here is review of the project for compliance with the performance standards of the Wetlands Protection Act for work in the different resource areas or their buffer zones. And I believe we did Beta provided a scope and fee to the city that I believe was shared with Mr. Faria and or representatives.
We never received it. We assumed, we assume now with, where there was an agent on, we never received the proposal, but
Okay.
we assumed, or it was just a 2-family home and there was an agent on board, that it wouldn't need to be sent out for peer review, but we certainly never received a review. To be honest, we were kind of figuring we were gonna come in tonight, close the hearing and receive an approval.
That I know it was shared with the city. I'm not sure if maybe that's something we can kind of determine where that left off or where that might have gotten lost. That we can certainly circle back. I'd maybe defer to Kyle and or admins on this one. I will say, as we had kind of spoken to in the beginning of the meeting.
I missed that. I apologize. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
no worries.
I could hear you,
That
but I wasn't paying attention, so I got missed the conversation.
no worries. Essentially, as the new agent, as Kyle is getting up to speed on assessing things and going through the process of assessing things for compliance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. Kind of, I know we have an on-call for the stormwater, but that is also being extended towards the Wetlands Protection Act temporarily as the new agent kind of gets up to speed on the processes and procedures. So we are acting on behalf of the commission to do some of these peer reviews. With that said, obviously you can't fund a peer review or discuss it if you haven't received it.
And as a commission, as a commission, I don't feel comfortable without having some of our, one or two of our agent or a consultant agent actually going out and evaluating the plans and making sure that everything is,
Certainly,
usually we defer to what the agent has to say to provide us with some, important information.
It was just based on what we've done in the past, Madam Chair. If it was a
Right.
smaller
Right.
project like this, the agent would review it. If it was a larger project, with drainage and stormwater, then that always got sent out to typically to Beta for peer review. So we were just assuming that same thing, but I totally understand, Mr. Holden being, getting up to speed with, with what's done and having the opportunity to do that.
We
So,
appreciate that very much. Good.
thank you.
So once that scope and fee is paid to the city, then Beta can review it and you and Kyle will take a look at the whole package and then you'll be able to report to us at the next meeting. Is that correct? Is that how that might work?
Correct. Yeah. So step one is we'll make sure that, Mr. Fari and the applicant, get a hold of the scope and fee and we can have some discussion there. And then from there, we would do a site visit and Beta would provide the kind of technical review regarding performance standards.
Yeah, so it's performance standards for both wetlands and stormwater if stormwater is necessary.
Yeah, to the
Yeah, but in
extent
this-
necessary to review per the Wetlands Protection Act as far as.
I just had a very quick question because I'm really not sure. I feel a little hazy about it. So the building, now prior to this, was that a green space?
It
Mr.
was,
Parker,
essentially a wooded lot. It
Yeah.
wasn't, it was overgrown, to be honest with you, Madam Chair.
Right. But so now you're going to be putting in a building, a tall building with 7 parking spots next to it. So that therefore there's going to be more impermeable surface, right? I mean, impermeable surface.
For sure.
So does that must affect the Wetlands Protection Act, or is that part of stormwater? And since it's 2 family.
Yeah, typically where it's less, the cutoff has always been 4 units. 4 units or less, the stormwater management doesn't apply. Most cities and towns in Brockton, even before they started enforcing the Brockton stormwater bylaw, most cities and towns ask us to at least infiltrate the roof runoff, which we've done in this case. Just about everybody asked you to put in a drainage system to handle the roof runoff to kind of
The parking
that,
pieces.
the parking, in this case, the parking's a little bit out of the ordinary, I guess, than what you would see. But to be honest with you, it's no different than if we had 2, a driveway on the left and a driveway on the right. The impervious area would probably be about the same as what I have on this driveway. So it looks bigger, but it's not that much difference. But that's typically what we do, Madam Chair. It's just a system for the roof runoff.
So does that have to go in front of the Brockton stormwater, whatever now, or does that under our purview?
That is something, and actually I can let you speak to that. Sorry, Mr. Faria, if you'd like.
I don't know.
I don't either.
That'll be something that we kind
the whole
of will
stormwater
assess.
thing is new, and it's kind of
I know.
as I understand it, if it's a lot, there's a size cutoff. If it's a lot under 10,000 square feet, I think it doesn't have to. But then I think there was also whether it was a single family or a 2 family or a 3 family. So I don't know. I think it's just kind of, to be honest, it's just kind of getting up to speed, the whole enforcement and the making everybody comply and apply for these permits. So I think we're, at least on the engineering end of things, we're kind of just playing it by ear and submitting things. And if somebody tells us we have to do it, then we do it.
Okay, so we can find out for you, I'm sure, or you can find.
Yeah, Joyce, that'll be a part of kind of as we go through the review. We'll let you know. We'll let them know where that stands.
That's great. Thank you.
It's my fault for not paying attention at 6:30 when you get started.
No worries. It's been a while since then. It's okay.
Okay, it sounds good. Okay, any questions at all from the commission? How about abutters? Are there any abutters present that might want to speak to this issue of the establishment of a 2-family home on Pleasant Street with No address.
Correct.
Do you see anyone present for attendees?
I see no one with their hand up, Madam Chair.
Okay. Then I would perhaps suggest a motion, perhaps, that we continue to the next meeting. I entertain a motion, please.
Sure, I make a motion to continue a notice of intent for Pleasant Street to a two-family dwelling to the next meeting in June 21st, 2023.
Okay.
I
Motion's
second.
been made and seconded. A roll call vote, please, for
Thank you.
for a continuation to the next meeting.
Speaker, aye.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Mr. Ferry, we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, if I could just have 1 second, I also have number 10 on your agenda.
You'd like us to take this out of order?
No, certainly not, but I completely forgot about sending Isaiah and Rhoda continuance requests. I hit him with an email.
Oh, for the
When you
VA?
started the meeting like at 6:30 or so, I hit him with an email, but just to give you a quick update, it's been continued a whole bunch of times, but we've been working back and forth with Beta, and we're actually going out to the site on Friday to dig a test pit that Beta wanted. So that's kind of just holding things up. So if I could get a continuance to that June meeting as well, hopefully by then we'll be all set with Beta and be ready to bring it before you folks.
Commissioners? You okay
Yeah,
with that?
I'm fine. Yeah,
Okay, entertain a motion, please, to continue in 940 Belmont VA Hospital Fueling Station. I entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to continue 940 Belmont Street, the VA Hospital, to the next meeting, June 21st, 2023.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Speaker, aye.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. We will see you in June, Mr. Ferrier.
Thank you very much, Commission. Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye. And it's done. Okay, where are we? Okay, we have another notice of intent. 97 Ames Street. Let's see, this is a new hearing, I believe. We need to confirm the file number and about a notification. Road, Isaiah,
We did
Please.
receive about a notification.
about a notifications are
I
done.
got those.
File number. You're muted, Elise.
I've been so good about it.
I know
We
that.
we do have a DEP file number, and there is no technical comments from Mass DEP.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this would be Conoco Engineers, I believe. Do we have a representative present for 97 Ames Street, a substation for,
Looks
Oh.
like we do.
Mr. Toohill? Mr. Toohill disappeared. Is Mr. Toohill? Oh, there he is. Okay. Hi, how are you, Mr. Toohill?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Good to
fine,
see you
thank
again.
you.
Mike Toohill from Conoco Engineers and Scientists here representing Mass Electric Company. This is an MCP project. This is a cleanup at the substation at 97 Ames Street under the MCP. So there is an LSP involved on the project. There's lead contamination in the soil within the fenced area of the substation, just outside of the electrified area, but still on the substation property. And this is a proposal to remediate, to remove that lead contaminated soil from that area. If I could share my screen, I can show
Yes,
you
please.
a few items. So this is a substation property, which is outlined in red. Trout Brook runs up to this point, and then it runs through a very long culvert. It's over 200 feet in length. So that'll come into play when we talk about riverfront area. The contaminated area, I don't know whether you can see my cursor, but it's up in this area here. And I'll show you that in more detail on another graphic in a second. This is the FEMA map for the area. The substation it's right under the community panel number, right in the center of the screen there. And as you can see, the substation property, Trout Brook backwater floodplain encompasses most of the substation property. So this work is within the 100-year floodplain. One more. Here we go. This is a shot showing some of the topography. It's a very flat site. This is Trout Brook down here where it runs in. Here's the head wall where it runs into the head wall. And so the culvert goes up through here and it goes pretty far up into further up to the north west. The contamination area is this area up in here. So it's within the electrified part of the substation and just outside the electrified part. This is the fence that separates the electrified part of the substation from the rest of the substation property. On this graphic, we didn't show the floodplain because it basically encompasses everything across here. So all of this work is within bordering land subject to flooding. Trout Brook does have riverfront, and because it runs through a culvert more than 200 feet in length, you draw a perpendicular line across the edge of the end of the culvert. And so riverfront is actually down this direction away from the work. Same thing with the buffer zone for the brook. The 100-foot buffer zone is down in this direction. So we have a 25-foot riverfront area and a 100-foot buffer zone. Because this is floodplain up here, it's in a resource area. So I didn't draw buffer zone up in that area because it's within the resource area. That's about it. So what they're going to do is they're going to dig down. We've done a bunch of testing in this area over the years. It's all lead contamination. It's non-leachable lead, but they want to get it out of there. National Grid, Mass Electric wants to get this out of there. It's about 1,200 square feet is the total area of excavation. The total depth is 5 to 15 feet, and it varies throughout the area. And what they do is as they excavate down, they test and make sure they get down below MCP standards, and then they stop the excavation at that point. They will then backfill this area. And pardon me, that's my mother, and she doesn't understand about night meetings. She called a little while ago and I said, I can't talk to you. Anyway. So this is the excavation area, 5 to 15 feet in depth. So the volume that's going to come out varies quite a bit. It's like 270 to 670 cubic yards. So quite a big variance. And that really depends upon the testing with the LSP on site. But like I said, they'll then backfill this area back to existing grades. So there's no effect on bordering land subject to flooding, either during the process or following the process. It'll be at the exact same grades as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
I can leave this up or stop sharing, however you prefer, Madam Chair.
I think I'm fine.
Okay.
Commissioners, do you want to keep it up there? Oh, okay.
I can always put it back up.
Okay, thank you.
When do you plan on doing the excavating and backfilling? Is that going to be during
During the summer.
weather time? Okay.
No, they want to do it during the summer. This has been an ongoing. They have a whole, as you can imagine, electric utilities have a lot of sites like this.
Mhm.
And this one is now hit the list where they're ready to do the work, and so they do the work during the summer.
Thank you.
And where does the fill go once it's excavated?
It goes, depending upon the lead levels, it goes either to an approved landfill under the MCP, or if it's high enough, there are actually facilities that heat treat the soils to remove the lead, but it all gets taken off site and remediated.
Mhm.
And it has to go by licensed haulers.
Now, I believe we do not have an agent report. Is that correct?
Correct.
Again, because of the scope and fee.
Yeah, so Beta actually Beta has drafted up a scope and fee, and we can get that sent out to the conservation department to send over to the applicants and the representative tomorrow. and we can get that shared for Beta to complete a performance standard review under the Wetlands Protection Act.
And there will be time to finish that before the next meeting. Is that correct? That you'll have an agent
Yeah,
report
if
ready
it's
by the next meeting?
funded, if it's funded in a timely manner, then yes.
Okay. Mr. Toohill, do you think there'll be a problem with that?
I will ask my client. There
Yeah.
are no stormwater issues. It's
Yeah.
basically
It's-
digging a
it's
hole and filling
wetlands.
the hole back in again.
Yeah, it's wetlands. Yeah,
Right. It's
Okay.
in the floodplain. It's not in any
Sure.
other resource area.
sure. Okay. I personally don't feel comfortable as a commissioner, evaluating this unless we've had an agent report from the city of Brockton. So if we can go forward with that and
Yeah, I
possibly
will tell my
continue to the
client
next
that.
meeting, that would be wonderful. So I'd entertain a motion, please, to continue to the next meeting.
I make a motion to continue 97 Ames Street substation excavation to the June 21st meeting.
Second,
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, I.
Voris, aye. Mr. Toohill, we will see you then.
Thank you. Good seeing you again. See you
Okay,
next month.
thank you. Thank you. I didn't take any public comments. I should have. Did anyone have any public comments to make regarding the substation at 97 Ames Street? So I'm sure we could at least take the comments.
Yeah, I believe we do have someone that wishes to make public comment. John, I'm going to promote you to a panelist and we'll see.
I didn't see a hand up. John
Well, I spoke to him earlier today.
John McMahon?
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have had him speak while the applicant was here. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
What we can also do too is if we let them speak to it, at the next meeting, make that information that was shared available to the applicant
Yeah.
representative so that they're
course.
aware.
Of course.
Okay,
Mr.
John,
McMahon.
you're muted, but if you want to unmute, you can have 5 minutes to discuss your thoughts on this project.
Mr. McMahon?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much for taking my my comments here tonight. Can I just go back to 82 Ames Street? It's right across the road from 97 Ames Street. And that culvert, as he said, goes all the way up. So where you have a brook running into the culvert, that all comes down into my property at plot 9 on Fletcher Street. So there's a whole series of issues all the way up Spark Street that have a direct effect on me down at Fletcher Street. My concerns is that this particular 97 Ames Street have a history of filling their property. They come in, they clear vegetation, and then they cover the cleared vegetation. And it puts my property at a lower elevation than their property. With climate change coming, and with climate change being here, and with increasing climate change, it's going to have more and more adverse effect on my property. As I said, and I put a letter in today explaining my position on what should be done and what I feel about the area. I've owned the property for 30 years. I've done nothing with the property for 30 years because the property and the area around it is blighted. Brockton's changing. Brockton's moving on. And blighted areas like this need to be addressed. I'm prepared to help in the addressing of the blighted area, but if they're allowed to put fill in constantly and every time they decide to go in and clear the vegetation and fill comes in with nobody overseeing the fill coming in. If they're taking out a ton of fill and they're putting back in a ton of fill, that doesn't affect me if the levels don't go up. But if they're coming out and they're taking out, as they've done in the past, clear the area and gone and got recycled road and dumped it on the right of way. I have a right of way to the back of my property, which they have a right over. And they clear that right of way and they clean it off, they fill it. The street on Fletcher Street, which I have about 560 feet of, that gets cleared by the town, the dirt portion of it, and was filled in over the years. As a result of that, I'm at a much lower elevation than they are. And with the constant flooding, we have constant flash flooding down there. And as a direct result of that, it's related to the culvert, it's related to the, basically the industrial people down there being allowed to do things that they shouldn't be allowed to do. And as you can see, if you go back to 82 Ames Street, you see that property. That has a direct effect on me because the culvert comes straight out. It comes right out at in the middle of 97 Ames Street, comes right in, and the channel is man-made right through my property. And the river front of my property is about 365 feet. So when that flows through, it comes right onto my property. And my property, unfortunately, is the lowest end down there. So I get all the flooding. And I certainly want to get some form of use out of my property. If it's recreational or something, I want the opportunity to do that. The reality of the situation is I won't be allowed to do it if it constantly gets floods every time they go in and they do repairs. I was very upset that the town allowed them put a wall around their equipment, which is roughly 10,000 square foot of a 275 foot length fence by 300 foot fence. All that runoff comes into my property. I'm bullseye down there. So that's happened previous. I honestly thought that the commission would keep everybody's best interest out there. Didn't happen. So now I'm here tonight, and I'll be here every night that there's an issue down there on Spark Street, that there's an issue down there on Ames Street, because there are issues down there and they all end up in my yard, and it ends up in flash flooding in my yard.
I can't even begin to imagine how frustrating that must be for you, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, I'm sorry about being frustrated, but I'm always
No,
frustrated.
I don't
when
blame
come
you.
talk
I
about
don't
this
blame you.
property.
Have you put this into writing and
I
sent it?
gave the letter today.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
good.
we've
And-
uploaded his comments in the letter are on the Google Drive, so the commission can
Good.
review that after the meeting.
We'll have a chance to look at
But-
that. And Mr. McMahon, I know that when Mr. Toohill spoke, he spoke of removing a certain amount and then putting back a certain, just removing the lead, so that way there isn't any lead in that soil, and then replacing it with clean fill and then keeping it at grade. So
That's what they said. I understand that. That's what they
Yeah.
said. But that's not the history. And
I'm
I'm
sorry.
going on history, not on what they say. And
okay,
the history is that the town give the approval, and then they take out whatever they take out, but they put back, they have a history of putting back more in than what they're actually taking out. How are you going to monitor that?
well, we certainly can. Okay, we'll certainly take everything that you've said into account, and we will follow up on that, I'm sure. Thank
I've dealt with it for 30 years. If you look at if you go down and do on the right of way that runs along the back of my property, you go down and do a soil test on that, you'll find other types of soil that is not supposed to be there. Or you to come down to my right of way and do tests on my right of way, you'll find the soil. I know you don't want to do it, but you'll find it.
Have you ever addressed it to the zoning department or?
I've addressed it to a number of people over the last 30 years.
Mhm.
I have addressed it. Especially when the flood, when you're coming in and you're bringing in the flood, basically the runoff in relation to taxes on land. I spoke to the DPW about it and all. They told me that they're not going to put any more, basically dirt on Fletcher Street down there. But it's been a long time going, and I've let it go because the area has been blighted for years. Slowly but surely, every time I go in, for 30 years ago when I came into this town, it was miserable. It was depressing coming in. It's slowly but surely moving up. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, enough is enough. If these big industrials want to come in, let them do them to the standard and let them be held to the standards they're supposed to be held to. That's what I'm looking for. No
It
problem.
sounds reasonable. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll certainly take a look at what you've submitted and make sure that we follow up on that. Thank you.
Okay, and I will
Okay.
make sure you follow up to me.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
McMahon. Have a lovely night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've got John's email, so we'll be in communication going forward.
And you'll post that email on he sent an email.
So yeah,
right?
the letter that he drafted is on the Google Drive now.
Okay, I didn't see that earlier. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll be in communication with him going forward via email as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other attendees that would like to address this particular site? I don't see anything. Okay. The next item on the agenda is 710 Oak Street, a car wash construction. Notice of intent. A new hearing, so we should have a file number, a butter notification. Isaiah, we have the butter notification? And Elise, or Kyle, do we have the file number?
We do not have a DEP file number quite yet. Doesn't mean anything per se just yet, but there has not been one issued at this point. We can still open the hearing and move forward, but we would not
That's
be
fine.
able to make any decisions without it.
And Isaiah, do you have information on the butter notification? Or road? For 710 Oak Street? Or Mr. May?
Mr. May does not. Kyle, have you seen any abutter notification?
It should be of the NOI but I didn't look through it.
This is Phil Henry with Civil Design Group. I could address that. We did send out a butter notification via certified mail, and I have the white slips in my
You
possession.
do have the white slips. Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. Thank you.
And
I'm sure they're in the file.
yeah, I was gonna say, essentially what we need to do, is just confirm that the certificates that were sent match the addresses for the abutter list. That is something that we do need to confirm prior to opening the hearing.
Okay.
So that's let's see.
I mean, I have them here.
Okay.
I thought
yeah.
the whole purpose was
But we wouldn't be-
certificate of mailings is that the post office obviously takes on the liability of sending those as opposed to like the green cards.
Not necessarily. Really, the difference is that with the green cards, you get a return signature back. With that said, we could, barring, hearing from Isaiah and or Road, we could open the hearing, and then if it so ends up happening that the something is off with the abutter notifications, then we can address
Isaiah,
that.
this is not
in the future.
good. It is 8:21.
Okay. Yeah, what I could do
So,
is I could,
yeah.
and I could mail the certificates.
Yeah, or a
and-
photocopy would be fine as well. So I think with that said, maybe Joyce, we can go ahead. We'll open the hearing, and if there does end up having, being a concern with the abutter notifications after the fact, we can address it for the next meeting and or at the next meeting.
Okay, why don't we do that? We'll certainly get the representative presentation. Mr. Henry, if you could give us your presentation without the DEP file number and without the definition of, the specific abutter information. We still want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and we can still open the hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, excellent. I'll share my screen. I believe my client, the applicant, Chris Fazio, is probably also in the waiting room if somebody could let him in just to answer any technical or operational questions, should you have
His
any.
hand is up. Mhm. Kyle, can you admit him as a panelist?
Yes, I'm trying to now.
Thank you.
I think he should be in now.
Okay. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what I'll do is I'll give a brief overview of the site layout, where we are, where the wetlands are, and what we're doing for stormwater on a high level, and then I'm happy to answer any specifics. So what you're looking at here is the overall site plan with an aerial underlay. Just to get everyone's frame of reference, north is page right. This is Route 24. This is Oak Street here. The subject lot is this 2.5 acre parcel that is sandwiched between in front of the Walmart and behind the Cumberland Farms fueling station that fronts on Oak Street. This site, as you can see, does not have frontage on Oak Street. It gets its access via an existing access easement via the Walmart driveway that has signalized access to Oak Street. So what I'll do, I'll zoom in. Can everybody see the site plan change?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So what you're looking at here is the site plan, and the site has been rotated such that north is facing down now 90 degrees. Cumberland Farms is off the page at the bottom. Walmart is off the page up at the top, and that existing access drive is off to the left here where my mouse is pointing. So as you can see here, we're not utilizing the entire site. As I mentioned, the site's 2.5 acres. It's mostly of vegetated lawn, and then supplemental of the Walmart spaces associated with the Walmart facility. The proposed construction or the proposed development includes, I'll zoom in here, includes the construction of a 4,500 auto wash facility that you enter the facility, you enter the site via the existing the existing driveway right here on the northerly end. There's 12 vacuum spaces immediately to your left, and then you can enter the car wash by 3 ways. You can enter it on this inside turn here and go into each one of these bays here, where essentially this is a bay where you park and the washing wand kind of goes around your car, so you don't move through this section of the building. The opposite is true of this section of the building, where you get hooked onto like sort of a conveyor and get pulled through the tunnel. As you can see here, each one of these driveways, each one of the exit lanes has its own driveway that dumps you back onto this existing driveway. So essentially, after the vacuums, it's one-way clockwise, counterclockwise circulation around the building, whether you're going through the car wash or through the bypass lane.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the resource areas, when we did the Cumberland Farms project back in probably 2017 or 18, we went before this commission, and this wetland line here was approved as included in that notice of intent. Fast forward to 4 years ago, or about 1 year ago, when this project was started, we had the same wetland scientists go back out to the site and verify that the resource has not changed. And as included in the notice of intent is their letter and refreshed or revised wetland report indicating they went out back in July of 2022, indicating that the wetland line, in their opinion, has not substantially changed. So what you see here in blue, per the local regulations, I believe the buffer zones and the wetlands need to be a non-black color. What you see here is the resource area, and then the 25-foot buffer, the 50-foot buffer, and then the 100-foot buffer. To the easterly side, there's also wetlands off locus here. Same exercise. They verified that those wetlands have not substantially changed since 2018. And then, as you could see here, the 25, 50, and 100 stretches not back on site, but it does stretch within the existing driveway area. We're not substantially doing any new impervious area. There's some minor repaving in this driveway, as you would expect, but obviously we're just showing it for contextual purposes. As you can see on the site plan, the closest part of the new asphalt area stretches to about 35.5 feet to one of the wetland flags, B12. But most of the project is substantially outside of the 100. So obviously we're here before you for work within the 100-foot, and then obviously any hydraulic connections.
Mhm.
I'll go to the grading plan. So what you see here, same orientation. This is the grading plan here. So all the curbing and the line work is the same. The only difference here is you don't see any of the traffic markings and the line striping. What you see here is grading and limit of work, and as well as the drainage. So this thick dashed line here is the anticipated or the proposed limit of work. And as you can see here, we do not get any closer than the 25-foot at the pinch point. But obviously, as you can see, most of the limit of work stretches beyond that 25 feet into the 50 and the 100, and obviously outside the 100.
Mhm.
As far as stormwater, as you would imagine, we are increasing the impervious area. So our stormwater system, we feel, is fairly robust given what we're proposing. So similar to the fueling station that was approved a few years ago, we were able to apply the same logic or approach with managing stormwater, and that is an above ground stormwater basin that's located here, and you could see this shape by the contours. So this basin can accommodate and handle all the runoff from the impervious area, and you'll see catch basins that are strategically located around the site that are at low points that we've graded so that water gets collected into those catch basins and then piped into the basin itself. This basin, we feel, complies with not only the state DEP regulations, but also the new local stormwater regulations, including pre-treatment as it relates to TSS, phosphorus and nitrogen removal. And we do that by, there's a provision in the local stormwater ordinance that says if you statically hold the 1-inch storm below the lowest orifice out of that outlet control structure of your basin, you're deemed to meet 90% TSS removal and 60% nitrogen. So this basin does comply with that. I realize that the commission is probably going to recommend a review, and that is certainly fine. I just wanted to give you some highlights of the stormwater approach that we encountered here. So that's basically the general overview. I'm happy to answer any specifics that you may have.
Are there specific regulations governing car washes with the use of detergents and all of that kind of thing, with phosphoruses and all of that? Are there specific regulations that mandate I don't know, certain requirements for that?
Well, the car wash portion, the chemicals, the car wash cleaning chemicals,
Yeah.
that's part of a closed system. So that is either going to get recycled or obviously go to the sewer. So that's not part of the stormwater portion. So the stormwater portion is all exterior.
That would be runoff and that kind of thing.
Madam Chair.
Like rainfall and how we're managing oil from parked cars and sediment from the first flush and so on.
Yes.
Madam Chair, any of the drainage that occurs inside the building is treated as sanitary waste. So
Okay.
it'll be pre-treated and go to the sewer system. It does not go into the catch basin.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
But even, okay, I guess I'm just thinking of the little bits that are left on each car, but if you have hundreds of cars going through, there might be, but. Okay, it's fine.
Just a formatting question. I'm sharing my screen, but I've lost my video. Is that typical?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have a question. Has there been a traffic study done I guess it's out of my purview, but,
Yeah, that's okay. To answer your question, and I probably should have mentioned this at the onset. We recently received a special permit for the use through the zoning board in March. And we are now, as you would imagine, filing with conservation and planning. The conservation filing has simply beat the planning board filing. So as I understand it, the planning board filing is forthcoming, and as part of that initial process is a technical review committee meeting. So any traffic related comments or requests or requirements would come part of that process. So that I guess that is forthcoming, but that has not started yet.
okay, and I have another question. I see the solid dotted black line surrounding the property. Is that going to be a fence, or do you have any kind of things in place to prevent runoff besides the catch basin, like for snow removal and things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Are you talking about this dash line, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so no, that's an invisible line. That is the anticipated limit of work. So that's where the construction fence will be, and the wattles or the silt fence and hay bales. That's where those will be placed at the onset of the site. In terms of the only fence would be around the trash enclosure for obvious reasons, for aesthetic appeal, but also to make sure there's no trash debris that gets blown into the wetland. As far as to answer your question about stopping stormwater, this site is completely curbed. So there'll be a 6-inch reveal curbed around the entire asphalt area. And as you can see, some catch basins like here and here are well within the pavement limits or not along the curb. So in these cases, we've graded them back into the site or into the middle of the drive aisle, whereas catch basins here and here are along the curb. But in either case, either the stormwater is going to hit the curb and then run into the catch basins via these flow arrows, which kind of help the contractor tell them that this is where the water is supposed to go. But to answer your question, we don't believe that there'll be any untreated discharge into the wetlands.
Now, are you connecting to the Brockton sewer system for the dispensing of all the water that's produced in the car wash and the soap and all that?
Yes. Yeah, there will be, the answer is twofold. So we haven't been in front of the TRC yet, but essentially part of this project is going to have a percentage of reclamation. So at every wash, a portion of that water will get recycled back into the system, and a portion will overflow into the sewer system. So that's an equation that obviously includes new water coming into the system. So we're going to have that conversation with DPW on basically the water and sewer usages, and then kind of fine tune that after we have that discussion.
Okay. I'm just curious. Sometimes during the car wash process, they have like an undercarriage and a wax that's applied. Is that considered a pollutant? So does that get separated or does it all get mixed together?
All of that is within the building, and that wastewater is treated as sewage. It does not go out into the stormwater system.
It goes into the sewage system though, to be treated
Yes,
at
ma'am.
the treatment plant. Okay.
Yes, and just keep in mind that the sewage is also pre-treated as well. There's a number of processes that requires sediment to settle, and for oils and floatables to float. So I can go to the let me go to the utility plan here. It should be on here. So this is a little bit outside, I guess, the conservation realm, but I'm happy to share it. This is the utility plan here. So you see these exterior tanks here.
Mhm.
So these are subsurface tanks. They are, and these are the reclamation tanks. And so this is the processes where car wash water has to flow out of the site and back into the site. I'll also mention that within the building, you'll see these like thinly light rectangular shapes here, and here. These are sediment traps that when you come in, when the car gets washed, the debris, the sand, the salt from the car falls into these trenches, and these trenches are cleaned on an as-needed schedule. Either they're weekly, they're shoveled out. The outlets are also hooded so that floatables stay floating. And then once water leaves these trenches, they go through a series of three tanks where it's the same process. It gets settled, gets solid. Solids get settled, and oils stay afloat. And then either water is reintroduced back into the system, or it goes into a final oil water separator and then gets into the sewage. So all of the sewage processes are governed by local and state regulations that just like other car washes in town that we'd have to adhere to.
I think my question was more geared, I was wondering about this because of any potential flooding and having anything back up into that area, I guess.
Into the resources.
Yeah, into the resource area, correct.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you that so there's actually an existing drain line that where my mouse is going from this resource area that connects to this resource area. This pipe is a 48-inch pipe, so it's a very, very large pipe, which tells me that this wetland was probably not meant to be a wetland. It was probably a low point that gathered between filling this site and the embankment of Route 24, that this wetland over time has just formed by standing water. But in any event, everything drains from right to left on the screen. So, and the site gets, fairly lower, although it's a very flat site from right to left. Also, this basin, should say 100-year storm occur, this basin can handle up to and including the 100-year storm for this site. And then anything above that, the outlet, the grate gets used and then is discharged into the system, and then is discharged to the left of the page or to the east of the site. So it's unlikely that water would back up from the property and flow into the wetland to page right.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Henry, what's the depth of that infiltration basin? If
At the deepest point is 4 feet. So if you look here, this is a 206 contour and this is a 210 contour.
okay, I didn't see those numbers. I see them now.
Yeah, so
13 to 12. Yeah, I see them now.
yes, but it's important to note that there's a difference between the embankment, which is at a 4-to-1 slope, and the water. So the only 4 feet of water is anticipated to be in the 100-year storm, which is a fairly substantial storm. That's an 8-inch storm.
So that will be vegetated most likely, right?
Yes. Yeah, we anticipate this to be just like the other basins on the Cumberland Farm site.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, once again, we don't have an agent report. I assume that Beta will be sending a scope and fee.
Yes, yep. Yeah, we do have a scope and fee prepared and ready to go, so we'll send that over to the Conservation Department to distribute to Mr. Henry and Mr. Fazio for peer review of the project for Massachusetts Stormwater Standards, the local Brockton ordinance, as well as the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act for applicable buffer zones for the resource areas.
Okay.
And Isaiah is currently working on double checking the abutter notification.
Awesome.
Okay,
That sounds
good.
great.
Good.
Okay, yeah, and
So that-
I could scan these in and send them to Kyle.
That would be
Certified
great.
abutters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.
That's great. Good. So I assume then that there isn't much more that we can do right now until we have
Right.
an agent report and we have those abutter notifications and DEP file numbers. So I would entertain then perhaps, unless anyone has anything else that Mr. Henry.
Yeah, I just have one more, I guess, a request, and this is maybe for Bob May, that if this project obviously is going to go before planning board, is it possible to use the one peer review comment as it relates to stormwater for both conservation and planning board, just to simplify and streamline the review process?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh my God, my picture looks
And
terrible.
quickly,
Sorry, my
Commission-
camera's off.
Mr. Fazio, do you have any questions or
No, sounds good to me.
commissioners? Mr. Holden?
Yeah, I believe Isaiah was trying to say something. So Isaiah.
Oh,
do you
I'm
have
sorry, I
anything?
didn't see him. I
No,
didn't
no
see him.
worries. No
Hi,
worries. I
Isaiah.
don't, how you doing? I was just
Hello.
taking a look at the application. I don't believe we did receive abutters notifications for this. I see the addresses, but I don't remember seeing green.
Yeah, so I think, thank you for the clarification. Mr. Henry will provide us with the certificates of mailing, and if there ends up being that there's some sort of issue or discrepancy or something, that's something that we can address, before the next meeting. We'll get that taken care of.
Right.
I think typically it's on my end, it's like it's a chicken or the egg thing, because
Exactly.
because the abutter notification letter is in the application, but usually we don't send it out until you guys say it's complete and we get an agenda date. So in that abutter notification letter, I modified it after the fact when Kyle told me what the date was. So I added it to that letter and then sent it out to the addresses on the certified abutters list. So, and then typically these are done in person. I usually bring the green cards or the certificates in person. So, but I have them and I will scan them and send them to Kyle.
All right. Yep. Great. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, then I believe then I would entertain a motion, please, to continue to the next meeting.
Make a motion to continue 710 Oak Street to our next meeting on June 21st.
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Gentlemen, we will see you next month.
Thank you. Bye.
Good.
you.
Thank you very much.
Right.
We need another car wash. We do. VA hospital is done. Now the agenda item number 11 is the enforcement order on Claremont Avenue. A notice of intent and bringing that up to date. Is an applicant here for that?
Mr. Grady appears to be here.
Yep. Hi, Mr. Grady. Hi, Mr. Grady.
Hi, everybody. I think I'm on now.
Mm-hmm.
Just takes a minute to connect. Let's see, we've had several meetings on this project. In the last hearing, we submitted the soil testing protocol a day or two before the meeting. The commission did not have time to review the protocol, and you requested that we continue the hearing till tonight so that you'd have time to review the testing protocol. There was no other outstanding items that we didn't address. We've addressed every question during every meeting. So I think the last item here is this testing protocol, and we're available for questions and discussion. I did review it with you. I went over it at the last hearing, but you didn't have time to dissect it and absorb it.
Yep, I've read through it. It seems fine. Agent report, Elise, did you want to comment?
Yeah, so that essentially to his point, on this, the only outstanding item was the, getting that soil fill, testing protocol. And I've also kind of, gone through it, and it checks all the boxes and addresses all of our concerns. And it does also include not a requirement, but a statement that they would send along results of reporting as well, I believe. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Grady, but that those results would be shared with the commission. Awesome. Otherwise, the Massachusetts, as far as Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act is concerned, they have addressed all of the performance standards concerns, Mass DEP stormwater concerns. Beta has, gone through that peer review, and there was back and forth, revisions were made. So at this point, the applicant has addressed everything as far as, the regulations are concerned.
Commissioners, do you have any comments, questions?
I read through it and I didn't have anything.
Okay. Peggy?
I don't see anything more that needs to be explained. I think the last meeting we were pretty thorough. I did have a soil issue with the rest of the site, but I guess Beta doesn't feel that that's necessary.
It's outside of the conservation's jurisdiction.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then my questions have all been answered.
Now, on the soil protocol, did the soil protocol specifically say that we would receive copies of the results of your soil testing? Because I didn't see that in the protocol. Maybe I missed it somewhere, because I was thinking of perhaps making that a condition, a special condition.
That could also be included as a special condition as well, just kind of as an added assurance. I believe in the actual protocol, there was a sentence, let's see, upon receipt of the soil and analytical data from the laboratory, Conoco will review the data and provide a summary report of the findings of the test pit sampling program. And then it will include X, Y, Z, and conclusions and recommendations. And so, I guess it could be also read as a little bit more of a general statement, so that they would, provide the report. Doesn't say to who, but we can clarify as a special condition. Yeah.
I would personally appreciate that if we could do that as a special condition, that we would get copies of, specifically that we would get copies of the reports.
Definitely feasible.
No other comments. What about from the public? Any comments from the public about this particular applicant? I don't see any hands up. No hands up for.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Then we need to determine whether or not to close the hearing. I entertain a motion.
I make a motion to close the hearing of Claremont Ave map 181-042.
Okay, the motion has been made to close the hearing. Second.
I second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. So the hearing has been closed. So the next motion would be to issue an order of conditions. With the special conditions, I believe that had been outlined in your last report. Did you want to
Yeah.
just go over those very quickly? Elise?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was the agent revised kind of report that we provided while we were going through the, interim
Interim.
process
Yeah,
and adjustments. But let's see, I just had it right here. Here we go. So essentially the conditions were just conditions that Megan, the prior agent, had also used, and I felt they were good conditions. And they are also conditions that are echoed within the whole plan of this project. But one is that a wetland scientist or other qualified professional will inspect restoration areas within the 100-foot buffer zone after completion of the initial plantings and seedings and at the end of the growing season for 2 successive growing seasons, which I believe in the actual report, it does say 3 in their kind of project filing. And within 90 days of each inspection, a report will be submitted to Brockton Conservation. Second condition is that at minimum, the monitoring report following completion of the initial plantings and seeding within the restoration area shall be submitted to the commission before the issuance of a partial certificate of compliance or certificate of compliance. And the monitoring report shall confirm species, health of species, as well as seed mix. And lastly, that the final monitoring report confirming compliance with the restoration plantings after 2 growing seasons, including any replacement of species, shall be submitted to the commission before the issuance of a full certificate of compliance. So kind of just echoing what was already planned for and brought forth in the project proposal.
And that final special condition would be that we would receive any soil testing results.
Correct.
Mr. Grady, okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. So I entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions with those special conditions that were listed.
I make a motion to issue an order of conditions with the special conditions outlined in the agent's revised report for Claremont Ave map 181-042.
I second.
So that motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Curtis, I.
Boris, aye. Order of conditions passes. Thank you. Thank
Great.
you, Mr. Grady.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Mr. Grady.
And I'm sure everyone in the neighborhood would be very happy to see some grassy area in the.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll look good when we're done.
I'm sure it will look beautiful.
Thank
It'll be
you.
like a field, a big field.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your
good night.
time.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Okay, so rather than closing the meeting now, I believe we have to enter into an executive session. Laura, Vicky, okay with time scheduling for that for a period of time?
Yep.
Okay, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the Conservation Commission, we're going to enter into an executive session. We will not return to an open session. Under exemption number 3 of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3. So we can discuss strategy with respect to escalation of enforcement orders with documentation of repeated non-compliance. So we need a vote by roll call for the commission to enter into an executive session. I'll vote.
Curtis, here.
Oh, Beekler, here.
Laura's here. Okay, so we now enter into executive session.